Hi there! In this video, we will discuss the summary of the 19th chapter of El Filibusterismo, or The Reign of Greed, written by Dr. Jose Rizal, titled The Fuse. We will also study the important events, characters, settings, and lessons found in this chapter. Listen and watch carefully, as you will learn a lot from this historical work by Rizal. Let's begin. Placido Penitente stormed out of his class, furious after being insulted and humiliated by his professor. He felt a strong desire for revenge after enduring repeated mistreatment. As he walked along the streets, he encountered Padre Sibila and Don Custodio in a carriage and felt an urge to throw Padre Sibila into the river. Later, in Escolta, he saw two Augustinian friars joking around and considered punching them, but restrained himself. When Placido arrived at the silversmith's house where he lived, he found his mother, Cabasang Andang, who had just arrived from Batangas. He told her he planned to quit school, which deeply saddened and worried her. She reminded him of the sacrifices they made for his education and advised him to endure and remain humble despite their struggles, knowing the priest controlled the fate of students. Placido, however, refused to listen to his mother's pleas and wandered the streets of Manila again. Hungry and reluctant, he returned home but found his mother still waiting. She told him she planned to seek help from the Augustinian procurator to resolve his issues at the university. Placido strongly opposed this and left the house again without eating. He went to the dock and saw a ship bound for Hong Kong. He thought about running away, becoming wealthy, and returning to prove to the priests that he could succeed without their help or oppression. While wandering around the fair, he saw Simoon talking to a foreigner. Placido approached Simoon and shared his frustrations and plans to leave for Hong Kong. Simoon invited him to join his carriage. As they traveled, they saw Isagani and Paulita Gomez together. They proceeded to a hidden location where Placido met a man making gunpowder and planning a rebellion. Simone instructed the man to coordinate with military officials and Cabasang Tales for the revolution. While some were hesitant, Simone assured them they had enough allies to proceed with their plan. After 2 hours of discussion, Placido left Simone's house feeling conflicted and uncertain about what he had heard. The next day, he listened more calmly to his mother's advice. He agreed to her suggestion of seeking help from the Augustinian procurator and sent Cabasang Andang back to Batangas to prevent the priests from discovering she was in Manila. Now, let's move on to the important events in this chapter. After storming out of class, Placido Penitente felt humiliated and angry, considering acts of revenge against the friars and priests he encountered, but ultimately restraining himself. At home, Placido told his mother, Cabasang Andang, that he planned to quit school, rejecting her pleas to endure the struggles and remain humble despite their sacrifices. Wandering the streets of Manila, Placido contemplated running away to Hong Kong to prove he could succeed without the help or oppression of priests. Placido encountered Simoon, shared his frustrations, and was invited to a secret meeting where Simoon discussed plans for a rebellion involving military officials and Cabasang Tales. After hearing the revolutionary plans, Placido left Simoon's house feeling conflicted and uncertain, eventually agreeing to his mother's advice to seek help from the Augustinian procurator while sending her back to Batangas to avoid raising suspicion. Important characters. Placido, the main character of the chapter, filled with anger and resentment after being repeatedly mistreated at the university. He decides to stop studying and considers going to Hong Kong to escape and seek revenge. Simoon, a jeweler secretly plotting to overthrow the government and the priests. He invites Placido to join him and introduces him to people planning a rebellion. Cabasang Andang, Placido's mother from Batangas, deeply concerned about her son's future. She advises him to be patient and humble to continue his education. Padre Sibila, a priest whom Placido encounters on the street. He is one of the reasons for Placido's anger, representing the oppression students face under the priests. Don Custodio, an official accompanying Padre Sibila, another figure Placido despises for meddling in education and governance. Let us now proceed to the setting of this chapter. The chapter takes place in various locations in Manila, reflecting Placido Penitente's anger and frustration. These include the university, Escolta, the silversmith's house, the docks where he sees ships bound for Hong Kong, and the fair, where he meets Simun. Here are some of the lessons, messages, or implications shown in this chapter. This chapter shows how Placido's intense anger and frustration lead him to consider actions that could harm him. It highlights how uncontrolled emotions can result in unwise decisions with undesirable consequences. Placido's desire to escape to Hong Kong reflects a common tendency to run away from problems, but the story suggests that avoiding challenges is not always the best solution. Facing difficulties with courage and strategy is often a better approach. The chapter also illustrates the growing tension and desire for rebellion against the priests and the oppressive system. It portrays the struggle for freedom as a difficult and dangerous path, but one driven by a profound need for change and justice. And that concludes the 19th chapter of El Filibusterismo, titled The Fuse. What have you learned from this chapter? Share your answers in the comments. We also encourage you to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell to stay updated with our future videos. Until next time, thank you for watching.